For 80 years, the global superpower architecture operated on a single, unbreakable mathematical formula. Heavy iron equals invincibility. If you wanted to win a ground war, you built a bigger, thicker perimeter of steel. You poured $10 million into a main battle tank, wrapped it in reactive armor, equipped it with classified thermal optics, and pushed it across the map. It was the absolute apex predator of the 20th century, a rolling fortress designed to project unquestioned authority. The entire global military-industrial complex was built around this single, central assumption. But systems break, and the perimeter was not breached by a bigger tank, or a faster jet, or a heavier missile. It was bypassed by a logic error so catastrophic, it has permanently deleted the rules of modern warfare. What we are witnessing right now across the globe is not just a tactical shift on a battlefield. It is the real-time mathematical collapse of the trillion-dollar defense industry. To understand why the old architecture is failing, you only have to look at the math. A modern combat vehicle, the pride of American, European, or Russian engineering, costs roughly $10 million to manufacture. It requires a massive, complex supply chain of specialized parts, classified avionics, rare earth minerals, and years of highly skilled assembly. A commercial first-person view drone, purchased off a civilian website and rigged in a basement with a localized explosive payload, costs exactly $500. Mathematically, that is a 20,000 to 1 cost exchange ratio. This is not a military defeat. This is a fatal supply chain failure. If you lose a $10 million asset to a $500 piece of molded plastic and a lithium-ion battery, your economy bleeds out long before your army does. No superpower on Earth can manufacture heavy armor fast enough or cheaply enough to survive that kind of algorithmic attrition. The tank did not become obsolete because its gun stopped working. It became obsolete because it is mathematically unsustainable to deploy it. But you do not have to take my word for it. We do not rely on sanitized press briefings or delayed mainstream media reports. We run direct open-source intelligence extractions. This morning, our autonomous systems intercepted and translated tactical data pulled directly from the Russian military's own internal networks. This is what their ground commanders and strategists are openly admitting to each other right now on encrypted channels. Quote, "Offensives in columns have practically stopped. They are detected at the formation stage, and after that, cars or motorcycles are attacked by a mass of drones. The problem of positional deadlock at the front is not limited to a decrease in the survivability of the infantry. The same thing happens with technology." Unquote. They call it the positional deadlock. The multi-million-dollar armor cannot even make it to the front line. The moment heavy vehicles group together, their thermal signatures are detected by autonomous eyes in the sky. Within minutes, they are systematically dismantled by a swarm of commercial plastic that costs less than a used laptop. The Russian tacticians themselves are admitting that upgrading old iron is useless. They are actively predicting that the future of warfare is simply strapping automated drone launchers to cheap commercial trucks. So how does a global superpower patch a fatal vulnerability in its core system? You look at the nations that are quietly rewriting the source code while the rest of the world burns capital. Over the last 2 years, Chinese state media has been broadcasting their new system patch to anyone paying attention. They watch the Russian logic error unfold in real time, and they immediately change their entire operational doctrine. They are not building heavier tanks. They are building truck-mounted drone blasters. They have showcased light, commercial-style tactical vehicles equipped with 48 tube box launchers. A single operator presses a button, and 48 loitering munitions, suicide drones, shoot into the sky, unfold their wings, and form a synchronized, autonomous swarm. The era of the heavily armored, human-driven behemoth is closing. The military is being forced to adopt the lean startup model just to survive the next decade. The next generation of ground warfare will be fought with mass-produced truck chassis, stripped of human crew, and converted into mobile, automated drone hives. The military-industrial complex is realizing that if you cannot beat the swarm, you have to become the swarm. But the logic error does not stop at the ground level. The exact same financial asymmetry is destroying the architecture of the sky. Just look at the airspace over the Middle East. The United States Air Force operates the E-3 Sentry AWACS. It is a flying command center, packed with classified radar, that costs upwards of $270 million. It is the absolute pinnacle of American air dominance, designed to see threats hundreds of miles away. Recently, the perimeter failed. An Iranian surface-to-air missile, which costs roughly $15 million, targeted one of these untouchable assets. A $15 million missile forcing a $270 million radar platform into a fatal mathematical equation. The cost-exchange ratio favors the attacker by more than 15 to 1. Because of this simple math, the remaining AWACS platforms have been pulled back to safer, less effective distances. The regional surveillance capability is massively degraded. The airspace is no longer secure. And foreign strategists are watching this happen in real time, realizing that their own cheap, mass-produced long-range missiles can neutralize American air battle management before a conflict even begins. The United States has a total of 31 of these aircraft, and the production line has been closed for decades. You cannot lose multi-million-dollar aircraft faster than you replace them and expect to maintain an operational tempo indefinitely. It is the exact same algorithmic attrition we see on the ground, just scaled up to the clouds. And if you think the Navy is immune to this logic error, you are not watching the data flows out of the Red Sea. Right now, the United States Navy has deployed Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyers to protect global shipping lanes. These ships are marvels of modern engineering, costing roughly $2 billion each. They are equipped with the Aegis combat system, the most advanced radar and tracking architecture on the planet. And what are they fighting? They are fighting Houthi rebels deploying one-way attack drones that cost roughly $2,000 to build from basic commercial parts. When a $2,000 drone flies toward a $2 billion destroyer, the ship's commander cannot afford to ignore it. The system must neutralize the threat. So, the destroyer fires an SM-2 interceptor missile. The SM-2 missile costs $2.1 million. Let that math sink in. The United States Navy is currently firing a $2 million highly classified interceptor missile to shoot down a $2,000 remote-controlled airplane powered by a lawnmower engine. The rebels do not need to sink the destroyer. They just need to keep flying cheap plastic into the airspace until the destroyer runs out of $2 million missiles. Once the ship's vertical launch tubes are empty, that $2 billion asset is completely defenseless and has to retreat to a friendly port to reload. The naval perimeter is being dismantled not by superior firepower, but by simple, brutal accounting. This brings us to the ultimate corporate panic: the defense contractors. Companies like Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, and General Dynamics have built an empire on a very specific business model. They build bespoke, highly complex, deeply classified, and incredibly expensive systems. Their stock prices and quarterly earnings rely on governments writing massive checks for fighter jets, nuclear submarines, and heavy tanks. Open-source technology is a virus to their stock price. How does a legacy defense contractor justify a $10 million price tag for a tank when a teenager with a 3D printer and a soldering iron can build a weapon that destroys it in 3 seconds? They can't. The Pentagon is slowly waking up to the fact that they are fighting a 21st century algorithmic war with a 20th century procurement budget. The defense industry is now scrambling to build laser weapons and microwave emitters. Not because they are futuristic, but because they are the only systems where the cost per shot is cheaper than the drone it is destroying. They are desperately trying to fix the math. But while they spend years testing lasers, foreign adversaries are building tens of thousands of cheap, disposable drones right now. The final economic audit is absolute. Wars are no longer won by the nation with the most expensive, highly polished toys. The geopolitical map is being redrawn by decentralized manufacturing. The victor of the next global conflict will not be the one who builds the strongest armor. It will be the one who can manufacture the cheapest logic boards, the fastest, and in the highest volume. The intelligence is clear. It will no longer be possible to fight as before. The logic of warfare has been rewritten by open-source code, commercial batteries, and simple, unforgiving mathematics. And if you can read the math, you already know who loses. This brings us to the ultimate corporate windfall. While military commanders panic over the cost-exchange ratio, defense contractors are experiencing a historic surge in capital. Let's look at the exact numbers since the Middle East conflict aggressively escalated in October of 2023. Lockheed Martin, the manufacturer of the F-35 and the PAC-3 missile defense systems, has seen its stock price go nearly vertical. By March 2026, it is hovering near all-time highs of $670 a share. They are currently sitting on a staggering $194 billion backlog of government orders. RTX Corporation, formerly Raytheon, manufactures the exact Standard Missile-3 interceptors being fired in the Middle East. A $10,000 investment in RTX right before the October 2023 attacks would have yielded a total return of over 80%, absolutely crushing the S&P 500. General Dynamics, the manufacturer of armored vehicles and submarines, posted net earnings of over $4 billion last year and is sitting on a record $118 billion backlog. War is highly profitable, but even these massive corporations know that the current mathematics are unsustainable. The Pentagon has explicitly told the defense industry, we cannot keep buying $2 million missiles to shoot down $2,000 drones. So, what is the proposed solution? The industry is abandoning traditional ballistics and pivoting entirely to the electromagnetic spectrum. They are building the microwave patch. A defense technology company named Epirus recently developed a system called Leonidas. It is a software-defined, solid-state, high-power microwave weapon. In a recent Department of Defense demonstration, the military flew a massive swarm of 49 autonomous drones directly at the Leonidas system. The machine fired a single, invisible, wide-arcing burst of electromagnetic energy. In less than 2 seconds, all 49 drones simultaneously dropped out of the sky. The microwave pulse instantly fried their logic boards and navigation systems. The cost of that shot? Pennies per kill. It has an infinite magazine depth, restricted only by the amount of diesel in the generator powering it. Raytheon is building a similar system called the Coyote Block 3. It is a reusable interceptor drone that flies into an enemy swarm and detonates a non-kinetic electronic warfare payload, scrambling the entire swarm's signals before returning to base to be recharged. The defense industry is racing to deploy these directed energy weapons because they realize the fundamental truth of the new geopolitical grid. You cannot shoot down a swarm with a sniper rifle. You have to turn off the sky. The final economic audit is absolute. Wars are no longer won by the nation with the most expensive, highly polished iron. The geopolitical map is being redrawn by decentralized manufacturing and algorithmic attrition. The intelligence is clear. It will no longer be possible to fight as before. And if you can read the math, you already know who loses.